I wanted to share today a really cool point that I was able to identify and support Arya with, and that is walking through a fear. And this one's really cool because even though I'll be using that example that I supported Arya with, it actually applies to all of us as adults because this is a pattern that a lot of people follow. And so have you ever heard of the saying, you're just being a busy bee? She's just a busy bee, he's just a busy bee. Because you go from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, but you're really not getting the one thing you have to get done. So, Aria, this past week, we started using the sewing machine. So she had been asking me for a while, hey, can you teach me how to sew in the sewing machine? And I had been putting it off. So finally I said, all right, let's do it. So I got the sewing machine and I showed it to her. Then I showed her how to use it, every piece. And she was like, okay. So then it was interesting because I started noticing that she was cutting this thing here and cutting cloth over there and pinning the design here. And I said, well, let's go. Come on, do it. Wait, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Okay, all right, well, let's go do it now. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And then she'll be cutting and she's like, I'm making a pillow and I'm making a blanket for my doll. And then she's like, I'm pinning the cloth to how I want to sew it. And so I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what is really going on because she was really excited to use the machine, but then all of a sudden she has all these things she has to do. And I was like, okay, something's happening. So I said, okay, stop 1 second. What's going on? And she says, nothing. I'm just doing it. I said, are you just doing that or because you have to do it? Or are you doing it because you're procrastinating and you're pushing off using the actual machine? And she said, yeah, I'm kind of a little scared about the machine. And I said, okay, no worries. Let's do it together. So we do a little one together. And she's like, okay, no, it's okay. And then she's like, okay. And then she's talking about sewing. She's talking about what she's going to do. She's kind of speaking out loud the things that she wants to do and she envisions in doing, but she's not doing it. So I said, okay. I said, well, let's think about what really is going on. So you're doing all of these things and pushing off doing the actual thing that we have to do because you're facing this fear. And it will be easier to say that you have to do all of these things so that you don't have to actually look at the point that you have to walk through. She said, yeah, that's true. She says, it's just costing me a little fear. I said, okay. And I shouldn't use the word cost, but she said, it's giving me a little, it's making me a little scared. So I said, all right. So I said, well, give us some time. I'll show you more. And then if you want to do it, you can do it. You don't have to do it because you're the one who asked for this. So it's not like you have to sew. We can do it another day when you're ready. She said, okay. So it kind of brought down the you have to do it. So it creates more anxiety on the thing. So we went, so I said, why don't we go and pick up our milk on, that we pick up weekly and, we'll come back and see what happens. And she said, okay. So while we were in the car, I said to her, what is it that really scares you about the machine? Because I'm thinking like, is it the sound? Is it the do, 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 do? What is it, right? And she says, well, it's 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 the needle. And I said, okay. So I think that my fingers are gonna get caught in the needle. And I said, okay, well that makes a lot of sense. And maybe I didn't really explain all the pieces to you correctly and to show you the safety of using the machine. So there's a piece that actually goes on the cloth, but it's also protecting the needle so that you are not actually getting pricked by the needle every time. That is sort of encompassing the needle at all times. She said, oh, okay. So then I said, so unless you actually stick your hand deliberately under the machine, you are not going to get pricked. You just have to make sure you're pulling the cloth and you're not actually putting your fingers through it. Okay, well, that makes sense. And then when we got home, she's like, okay, I'm ready. And then she started putting all these things together. She started putting together a cast for her doll. Then she made a dress. Then she did a white bag of some sort. She made some gloves for herself. And it was really cool because a lot of the times, and this is a 5 year old doing it, but a lot of the times as adults who actually walk this point. And so we'll make ourselves so busy as to why we can't address a problem, as to why we can't address the things that are happening in our life and whatever it is that we have to solve because we have all these things that we have to do. But in reality, we're just being busy bees. We're doing this and this and this and this and that and that and that so that we don't actually have to face the actual issue that we have to resolve, the problem that we have to solve. And it is so easy. It's like the perfect excuse because I could say, well, I can't uh I don't know, walk through my fears because I have to support my daughter today in homeschooling, or I have to cook and I have to clean and those are responsibilities and they're legit. So I don't have time to really look within myself and change my programming, something like that, right? But the reality is that I can find time. That is a fact. And I can walk my process. What I'm facing and how willing and open I am to face it. That is really the point. If it's scary, if it's something new, if it's something that will probably stir up my emotions and feelings, then I'm not going to want to face it. But it is not just about dealing with emotions and feelings. It could be, you need to make a move, your job, a relationship, whatever it is that it's the next step, the next big thing that is so scary, okay, that we have to face, and we end up doing all these little things, being busy bees. And those, being a busy bee is just a way to cover your fears. It's just a great uh it's a great excuse that you build in order to cover the actual truth and what's really happening within yourself. Now it's really cool because we have amazing tools that have supported us to be able to be here and recognize these things. I, in the past, wouldn't have been able to recognize the fact that, okay, hold up, something's not right. She's going through a fear. How can I best support her? In the past, I would have probably just said, okay, why did you ask me to get this machine if you didn't want to do it? And she'll probably say, oh, because I don't want to do it anymore. And that would have been a valid point. But because I have now come to the point where I have supported myself enough to understand and see through someone's patterns and to see through someone's actual behavior, to recognize and support my daughter of, okay, right now it's not really that you have to do all these things and cut blankets and pillows for the doll, is that you're using that in order to avoid walking in that fear that you're having in this moment. And that is freaking amazing, just by using simple tools. You may be going through that as an adult. You may be having this decision that you have to make, but yet all those things that get in the way that you have to do because they're your responsibility, they keep you away from making that next step, taking that next job, coming into a relationship, whatever it is. It is so amazing to be able to look within yourself and say, oh yeah, no, I'm facing a moment of fear right now and I need to support myself, because being a busy bee is not going to solve the problem. It's only going to keep you busy. It's going to make you overwhelmed. It's going to make you tired. And then you can't do the one thing you have to do anyway. So don't be a busy bee.